Many people will die. No wonder you are Madara's teacher. You can see through Nagato's thoughts in an instant. And the first to suffer would probably be us in Konoha, right? Tsunade speculated. Although Konoha is weaker than before, it is still the strongest among the 5 great nations. To kill the chicken to warn the monkey the strongest would certainly be targeted to intimidate the other ninja villages. Jiraiya. Tsunade looked at Jiraiya and said, Jiraiya, you won't have thoughts of not wanting to fight just because they are your former disciples, will you? No. Even if they were former disciples, if they are enemies of Konoha, I will still fight. Jiraiya said firmly, Never mind, it's nothing. Jiraiya shook his head, not expressing what was in his heart. His life has been largely dedicated to a prophecy. The great Toad Sage of Mount Myaboku foretold that Jiraiya would become the teacher of the child of prophecy, who would change the world, leading this child to bring about peace. Longing for world peace, he has pinned his entire life on this matter, traveling outside the village while gathering material, creating works, hoping to change the world with his books, while also searching for the child of prophecy, who can change the world. The idea of changing the world through books should have disappeared after the publication of Ika Paradise. After all, no matter how unreliable Jiraiya is, he wouldn't rely on adult literature to change the world, right? If world peace could be achieved through a dirty book, then this world would be finished. In the beginning, he believed that the candidate was Nagato, one of the trio from the Rain Village. Perhaps he, with the legendary Rinnegan, could change this world. Later, after learning that Nagato was dead, he pinned his hopes on Minato. He believed this exceptionally gifted young man with a great heart could change the world. Then, Minato also died. From this perspective, why does it feel like Jiraiya is a harbinger of doom? Whoever he targets dies. Tsunade looked at Jiraiya in silence. She knew very well that this man, who usually appeared carefree and irresponsible, was actually the one with the strongest sense of responsibility among the 3 ninjas. He has spent his life striving for peace in the ninja world. Repeatedly defeated, yet still fighting, having done much, but still unable to change anything. In such circumstances, he remains unwilling to give up on the idea of peace and continues to strive for it. This truly aligns with the title of his first novel, Tales of Strong Will. I may not possess great power, but I rely on strong will to battle in the ninja world. Shaking her head in exasperation at her old friend's stubbornness, Tsunade continued, I understand the purpose of the Akatsuki. Does Uchiha Itachi have any other information for you? Yes, he also provided me with information about the current members of the Akatsuki. Zhou Ke nodded. Oh, let's hear it, Tsunade said with interest. Knowing oneself and one's enemy leads to victory in 100 battles. The role of intelligence is well understood by these ninjas. Zhou Ke began to introduce. First of all, the current known members of the Akatsuki are 9 with Nagato as the leader, who has never made an appearance. Jiraiya asked curiously, what does that mean? Well, Itachi couldn't investigate much either. He only knows that Nagato usually operates through a puppet called Pain, created using the Rinnegan's ability, which is active within the organization. According to Itachi's investigation, the puppet that is usually used seems to be made from Yahiko's corpse and is skilled in using techniques called Shinra Tensei and Bansho Tenin. Yahiko's corpse. Upon hearing this, Jiraiya was stunned for a moment, then immediately returned to normal and asked, what are those 2 techniques? Zhou Ke said they are techniques for controlling repulsion and attraction. Shinra Tensei can repel any object that approaches him, while Bansho Tenin can forcibly pull objects he wants to attract. Itachi's investigation revealed that Orochimaru joined the Akatsuki because he lost to this Pain. I see. So Orochimaru joined the Akatsuki because he lost to Pain. Tsunade had heard Jiraiya mention that Orochimaru had previously joined the Akatsuki. After finishing speaking, Tsunade joked, but that Orochimaru lost to your disciple. In a sense, you defeated him. The competitive Hokage lost to Minato, was beaten by Sasuke, and later was even overwhelmed by Naruto when he unleashed 4 tails. Orochimaru has been restrained by Jiraiya's disciple his whole life. In a sense, Orochimaru's unfortunate life is largely because of Jiraiya. Zhou Ke continued, next is the second in command of the organization, Konan. This person Jiraiya Sensei should be very familiar with, right? Yes, I helped develop Konan's ninjutsu. Jiraiya began to describe the characteristics of Konan's ninjutsu. Konan's ninjutsu is called paper jutsu. It allows her to turn her body into paper, making her immune to damage from physical attacks. It is nearly impossible for pure physical attacks to harm her. Additionally, she can control the paper for attacks, create clones, and even fly, making her ninjutsu applicable in combat, reconnaissance, and various other scenarios. Moreover, Konan has improved ordinary paper into waterproof paper, but her weakness is oil. If the paper is soaked in oil, the technique cannot be performed. After hearing all this, Tsunade remarked, Jiraiya, it seems your disciples are all quite strong. Tsunade suddenly realized that her ability to train disciples is vastly different from Jiraiya's. None of Jiraiya's disciples are weak. The weakest is Yahiko, but it's a shame he didn't have time to develop otherwise he might have been strong too. As for her side, Shizen, don't be too hard on this child. On Orochimaru's side it seems there is a medic named Kabuto. He looks quite promising, but currently he doesn't measure up. I can't lose to him in this regard, at least I need to equalize. I want to cultivate a disciple who can catch up to his disciples. Tsunade thought firmly. Sakura, Lady Tsunade, I really want to catch up to them. Zhou Ke, unaware of Tsunade's thoughts, continued. Next are the subsequent members who joined the organization. First is the intelligence officer, Zetsu. He is the mixture of those white substances we saw in our previous battle and the black substance that ambushed me. He is very skilled in underground infiltration and possesses powerful sensory abilities, making him responsible for gathering various intelligence. By the way, it seems he is affiliated with Uchiha Obito. Well, you have all witnessed this before. Tsunade nodded. After the previous battle, I collected the remains of those white substances which contained my grandfather's cells, but the base seems to be something else. Zhou Ke thought to himself the original setting of White Zetsu was that Uchiha Madara cultivated the cells of Hashirama on the outer path golem. However, later new settings were added. Humans who were caught in the infinite Tsukuyami would gradually transform into White Zetsu after being wrapped by the divine tree. So the current White Zetsu is likely a new version synthesized from the base of the modified White Zetsu from Kagai's era combined with Hashirama's cells. At this moment Tsunade slammed her hand on the table and angrily said, "That despicable Uchiha Madara actually stole my grandfather's body to cultivate that kind of monster." Tsunade also understood that Obito was merely the executor of Madara's plan and did not blame Obito for this. Well, Uchiha Madara is indeed guilty of great crimes and deserves to be executed. Zhou Ke completely shifted the blame onto Madara, saying, "Then let me continue introducing the next one. Uchiha Itachi, well, you all know him well, so I won't say much. The next is Kisame Hashigaki, a member of the 7 Ninja Swordsmen." Zhou Ke began to introduce the members of the Akatsuki one by one, including the Mist Ninja, sword user Kisame Hashigaki, the legendary puppet master from Suna Sasori, the demolition expert from Iwa Deidara, and the old relic from Takigakure Kakuzahiden. I don't think he was in the team yet. Tsunade couldn't help but cover her head and said, "These are all very famous names, all capable individuals. This organization should not be underestimated. But with the information it will be much easier to deal with them. Moreover, the Akatsuki usually operates in pairs, so fighting them group by group is still manageable. Don't underestimate our intelligence network." Jiraiya felt that they had a good chance of winning. But after what happened before, we can't be sure if they will launch a joint attack. Tsunade expressed her worries. Since they had fought against Obito before Obito knew that the information about the Akatsuki had been leaked, would he therefore prompt the Akatsuki to start acting and launch a large-scale attack on Konoha? With Konoha's current strength, it would be very difficult to withstand an attack from the Akatsuki. "I have an idea about this," Zhou Ke said to the two. "Go ahead, there are no outsiders here, you don't need to worry about it." After they began to talk, Tsunade instructed Shizen to go out and set up a guard. Now the entire office was protected by a soundproof barrier and layers of protection, so the conversation in this room would not be overheard by anyone. Zhou Ke nodded and said, "I want to take this intelligence and communicate with other ninja villages, see if we can unite all the countries to jointly confront the Akatsuki." Hearing this, Jiraiya and Tsunade exchanged glances. Tsunade frowned and said, "Kid, your idea is good, but the current ninja world isn't capable of mutual trust to fight together. The previous Konoha collapse plan has already proven that even among allies one must be cautious. The 5 great nations working together for a common goal. At least at this stage this is definitely not feasible. I believe this is an opportunity for peace in the ninja world." Zhou Ke explained, "To make everyone work together towards the same goal there must be a target, and the Akatsuki is currently a suitable target. With it around plus our joint efforts perhaps we can achieve a level of peace in the ninja world that has never existed before." Joint efforts. Hearing this, Jiraiya felt a bit tempted, so he said to Tsunade, "Tsunade, why not let him give it a try?" "Give it a try? I can accept that, but why do you have to go yourself?" Tsunade asked in confusion. Going to communicate with other ninja villages is actually a very dangerous thing. If you can't provide me with a convincing reason, I won't agree to this. I have 2 reasons for doing this. First, to protect Uchiha Itachi. The fewer people who know about matters related to this intelligence, the better. I will find a way to communicate privately with the Kage of each village. Secondly, I can use the Flying Thunder God technique. No matter what happens, I have the ability to protect myself. All of the above are reasons Zhou Ke made up, or in reality, he just wanted to go out and have fun. Cough cough, he wanted to go out and fight various ninjas, honing his skills and becoming stronger. I have to admit you make a valid point, but Tsunade hesitated. Meanwhile, Jiraiya advised Tsunade, every young bird has a day to fly independently, and this kid isn't weak. Under Jiraiya's persuasion, Tsunade began to think, and at the same time, she started to exert her aura to pressure Zhou Ke, hoping to make him give up, but Zhou Ke showed no reaction. He stood firm against any pressure. He was unmoved. After a while, she let out a helpless sigh. Sayumin, once you have something you want to do, you completely disregard everything. Fine, I agree to your mission request. Once your body recovers, you can go complete this mission. Thank you. Zhou Ke nodded in gratitude. And besides this matter, I have another idea. It's about Orochimaru. Tsunade and Jiraiya, who had originally relaxed, turned serious again upon hearing Orochimaru's name. Tsunade asked, Orochimaru, are you planning to go look for him to fight? That is absolutely not allowed. It wasn't that she had any fondness for Orochimaru, but she was mainly worried about Zhou Ke. Fighting Orochimaru, a venomous snake, is a different concept than him coming to find you. Zhou Ke going to him is simply too dangerous. No, we are not planning to go look for him to fight. Zhou Ke shook his head and said, Orochimaru's desire to destroy Konoha is unyielding. Last time he left without injury, he will definitely act against Konoha again once he is prepared, and sitting here waiting is very unfavorable for us in Konoha. Therefore, I think we should place a spy in Orochimaru's camp. Jiraiya thought for a moment and said, you make a good point, but how could we possibly insert someone in there? Orochimaru would have no reason to trust someone coming from Konoha. Well, there is one person who, even if Orochimaru knows it's a trap, would definitely accept them, Zhou Ke said with a smile. Tsunade naturally asked who. Zhou Ke replied, Uchiha. Sasuke. Uchiha Sasuke. No way. Isn't that just walking into a tiger's den? Tsunade shook her head saying, according to the intel brought back by Jiraiya, Orochimaru has developed a jutsu that can swap bodies. His intention in pursuing Sasuke is to seize his body, which would only benefit Orochimaru without any gain for us. That is a possibility, but we shouldn't worry for the time being. Zhou Ke replied, the jutsu Orochimaru used in his battle against Lord Sarutobi was likely based on that body-swapping technique. I suspect that it can't be used continuously in a short span of time, at least a year or so must pass before it can be used again. I believe that before the cooldown period of that jutsu, and Sasuke will be able to learn and gain enough power from Orochimaru, at least to ensure his own safety. Tsunade hesitated and said, but Zhou Ke further persuaded, we do need a spy to relay information about Orochimaru, otherwise our battles with him will be too passive. Moreover, I believe Sasuke will agree to this mission. After all, he needs power. He cannot fall behind Naruto, and he also needs a teacher of the level of the Sannin. Considering his relationship with Naruto, it makes sense for him to become Orochimaru's disciple since Naruto is a student of Jiraiya who is a senior to Orochimaru. Hearing this, Jiraiya's expression became awkward. Should the awkward relationship between good friends and rivals be passed on to the next generation? What do you mean it should be passed on? Hasn't this twisted relationship been inherited since the time of the first Hokage and Uchiha Madara? Tsunade thought for a moment and said, this matter. I want to hear Sasuke's thoughts first. Such a dangerous mission must have the input of the person involved. That's simple. I'll go find Sasuke and discuss it with him later. Since there was nothing else to say, Zhou Ke left the Hokage office. Then he first went to celebrate his discharge from the hospital by having a bowl of ramen with Naruto, casually finding an excuse to part ways before heading to find Sasuke. Sasuke was currently training in the training field. Upon seeing Zhou Ke, he asked in confusion, you woke up so quickly? You look like you would need a few more days of rest laying in bed. It seemed Sasuke had checked on his condition. Zhou Ke replied, well, my body does still feel a bit uncomfortable, but if I just lie in bed all the time, my body won't recover. You didn't come to explain how uncomfortable your body is, did you? Sasuke was straightforward, not in the mood for idle chatter. Zhou Ke wasted no time and repeated the proposal he had made to Tsunade to Sasuke. You want me to be an undercover agent for Orochimaru? Sasuke frowned and said, that's right, this task. I accept it. Sasuke was very clear about his own situation. Despite making progress, he was still too slow compared to Naruto. In the previous battle against Gaara, although Sasuke made the decisive move, Naruto was still the main force. After all, the summoning beast was summoned by Naruto, and Sasuke mainly relied on the Sharingan to participate in the fight. This won't do. Sasuke had analyzed the reasons for this during this time. Apart from Naruto's impressive talent having not been provoked by Itachi, Sasuke could now objectively give a commendable evaluation of Naruto. There was also the matter of teachers. Naruto had Jiraiya, one of the Sannin, guiding him, and his teaching ability was clearly much stronger than Kakashi's. Kakashi was once again looked down upon. To catch up to Naruto and become stronger, Sasuke needed a more powerful teacher. However, looking around, were there any better teachers in Konoha than Jiraiya? Tsunade, who had just become Hokage, seemed alright, but she was clearly not of the same ilk as him and couldn't teach him anything. Thus, Sasuke fell into distress. At that moment, Zhou Ke came to provide Sasuke with a great suggestion. Having narrowly escaped from Orochimaru before left a deep impression on Sasuke, and he knew a lot about the Uchiha clan, including his brother Itachi, so he would definitely be a good teacher. Hence Sasuke didn't hesitate and directly agreed to the task. Sasuke's decisive answer instead made Zhou Ke, who had made the suggestion, hesitate. Are you sure you understand the level of danger this mission entails? Just a worthless snake, don't underestimate the Uchiha. Sasuke said proudly. When he first met Orochimaru, he was indeed quite cowardly, but times had changed and Sasuke had grown far stronger than during the Forest of Death. This time he would not be the same as before when he met Orochimaru. Okay, then let's go see the Hokage. With that, Zhou Ke and Sasuke made their way to the Hokage's office. After Tsunade understood the situation, she said to Sasuke, "Sasuke, are you sure you want to take on this undercover mission?" Sasuke resolutely replied, "Yes, I am willing." Seeing Sasuke's determined gaze, Tsunade had nothing more to say. Just like Zhou Ke, they were already ninjas, and they should take responsibility for their decisions. Thus, Tsunade acknowledged, saying, "All right, we will give you an rank mission. To disguise yourself as a rogue ninja and infiltrate Orochimaru's organization for undercover activities." So the next step is to disguise myself as a rogue ninja. Tsunade continued, "Yes, for your safety you will need to create some conflicts with the villagers to ensure your disguise." "That's not necessary," Zhou Ke suddenly interjected. "Orochimaru has always wanted Sasuke's body, and he has been relatively quiet for a while. It's about time he makes a move and sends someone to lure Sasuke away. If that's the case, then I just need to leave Konoha with the person Orochimaru sends to retrieve me." Zhou Ke further explained his plan. "Yes. However, to make it more convincing, Naruto and I will pursue you. During that time, you need to delay the people who come to pick you up one by one, just right for us to take the opportunity to weaken Orochimaru's power." Tsunade couldn't help but praise, "It seems you've come up with a very thorough plan. Did you start thinking about this after the third Hokage's demise?" "Well, after all, I have a grudge, and I can't let Orochimaru go unchecked," Zhou Ke said with a smile. Tsunade sighed. "You really don't act like a 12-year-old child." Thus Sasuke's defection plan was set. Next, all that was left was to wait for someone from Orochimaru's side to arrive. With nothing else to do, Zhou Ke decided to go home and rest. When he arrived in front of his house, he felt that someone was inside. Who could it be? Obito? Orochimaru? Danzo? Or could it be Haku? Zhou Ke considered all those he bore grudges against, then immediately dismissed the thought the person inside must be watching TV at home. How could it be an enemy? Wait, why do I have a TV at home? Zhou Ke was taken aback. He had never bought a TV before. In Boruto's time, TVs became commonplace, but in the current era they were items only wealthy families could afford. Zhou Ke couldn't afford one during his early days of poverty. After getting money from Kato, Zhou Ke had no time to enjoy life, so he didn't buy a TV. So who was watching TV at Zhou Ke's house? With this thought in mind, Zhou Ke opened the door. Xiangling was lying on his bed eating chips while watching TV. Sure enough, Zhou Ke showed a look of course. Upon reflection, the only person who could occupy his space was this one who had been absent all this time. "You're out of the hospital?" Xiangling asked in surprise. "I was still thinking of switching shifts tonight." You also came to take care of me?" Zhou Ke asked curiously. "I can't just let that silly kid stay there all day, right? Besides, you are the boss who pays me, so it's only right to take care of you." "Well, thank you." Zhou Ke shifted his attention to the TV. "Is this what you bought?" "Yes, you gave me so much money, and I had no place to spend it, so I bought this. That thing called a movie is quite interesting." "A movie?" Zhou Ke mused. Indeed, there are now cinemas that regularly screen movies. Then there were also DVDs being released. Did she buy a complete set of playback equipment? Zhou Ke thought to himself and asked, "What are you watching right now?" "The Snow Princess Ninja Scroll. The lead seems to be a rising star recently, named Kazuhana Koyuki." Cough, cough, cough. "Who is that?" Zhou Ke choked on his own spit. He had completely forgotten that this was the name of the female lead in the movie. Considering the timeline, the story of the movie likely happens around this time. Naruto will learn the Rasengan, and Sasuke hasn't left the village yet. However, it seems that Naruto won't be able to participate in this plot now. After all, knowing that the Akatsuki organization has begun to act, it would be too dangerous to let Naruto go outside to complete missions. In summary, it is highly likely that I will not be able to participate in anything related to the movie. Well, this little girl can only hope for the best. Zhou Ke silently wished her well. Xiangling then got up to pack her things. "Since you're back, I should leave too." "No need, just stay here. After all, I will be leaving the village soon, so this house can be yours to live in," Zhou Ke said generously. Didn't you say you'd take me with you?" Xiangling asked curiously. "You just became Tsunade's student. It wouldn't be appropriate to leave so soon, would it? Follow the Hokage to learn properly, and you can also gain a position within the village. Your future looks bright. Running around with me won't lead to anything good, so you should stay in the village." Zhou Ke spread his hands. Then he stared at the TV and complained, I have to say, this movie is quite interesting. Maybe when this task comes up I can join in. As I recall, the mission Naruto and the others took on was to help shoot a movie. If I join, maybe I can get a role and perform a bit. Thinking back to his childhood dreams of becoming an actor now, trying it out would be like fulfilling his dream, wouldn't it? You really don't seem like a ninja at all with such gentleness, Xiangling said with exasperation. What did you say? Zhou Ke asked as he turned back. Xiangling changed the subject. If I stay here, where will you sleep tonight? You aren't planning to go out to train, are you? Zhou Ke pulled out a spare bedding from the closet and said, I'll just sleep on the floor. Do you really think it's appropriate to share a room with a beautiful girl? Xiangling retorted. Zhou Ke had a subtle expression and said, a beautiful girl? Are you trying to get yourself killed? Ha, I was just joking, don't take it to heart, you are very pretty. Zhou Ke chuckled and complimented her. A belated compliment sounds like an excuse, Xiangling retorted. Well, it's my fault. To make amends, how about I treat you to dinner tonight? I just heard from Naruto that to celebrate Tsunade becoming Hokage, a top-notch restaurant just opened in the village. Want to give it a try? All right, Xiangling agreed. Then the two went out to eat and returned home to rest. The next day, bad news arrived. The next morning, Zhou Ke was called to the Hokage office where he heard the news from Tsunade. What? Sasuke defected. So soon. They had just prepared yesterday, and today Orochimaru's people had arrived. Tsunade replied, yes. This happened last night. Sasuke left with the people sent by Orochimaru. Naruto, who had come with Zhou Ke, exclaimed angrily, impossible. Sasuke would never leave with Orochimaru. Such a spy mission had to be extremely confidential. The fewer people that knew, the better. Currently, only Zhou Ke, Tsunade, Jiraiya, and Sasuke himself knew about this matter. Although I don't want to admit it, this is the truth. Jiraiya added, Sasuke chose to ally with Orochimaru to seek power for revenge. This information was just relayed to us by the returning Jonin. What exactly happened? Zhou Ke asked. Tsunade explained, this morning 2 Jonin returning from a mission were badly injured. On their way back to the village, they encountered the Sound Ninja, 4 along with Sasuke. After a fierce battle, the 2 were injured by Sasuke and barely managed to escape. They likely feared further obstruction, which is why they did not pursue 2 aggressively, allowing them to return alive. Upon hearing that Sasuke had injured 2 Jonin, Naruto showed a look of disbelief. Impossible. Sasuke would never do such a thing. Of course, Sasuke did not intend to harm them. His actions were aimed at proving his loyalty to Orochimaru and facilitating the swift communication of his departure to ensure Zhou Ke and the others could act accordingly. He wouldn't do such a thing. Let's go after him. Zhou Ke immediately cut to the chase. All right, let's head out now. Naruto immediately agreed. Wait, even if we are pursuing, we need to form a team. Tsunade quickly intervened. Pursuing was part of the plan, but just the 2 of them seemed a bit reckless, right? At least they should form a team, right? That would take too much time and it's not safe. Zhou Ke transformed into a youthful Minato and said, leave those guys to me. See you tonight, Tsunade Sensei. With that, Zhou Ke took Naruto and left. You should at least listen to what I have to say before leaving. Tsunade angrily punched the table, shattering it. You just recovered. Are you going to engage in intense combat right away? Do you even care about your life? You should at least let Jiraiya accompany you, or... But Tsunade couldn't finish her sentence. After all, Zhou Ke was no longer there. What was the point of saying this to thin air? Forget it, Tsunade. How could I let that boy succeed in leaving? Jiraiya comforted, leave the rest to Zhou Ke. Tsunade sighed helplessly. Now all she could do was trust. However, preparations needed to be made. Tsunade said to Jiraiya, go find Kakashi and think of a way to keep up with them, ready to support at any time, just in case. With the combination of Kakashi and Jiraiya, they could handle almost any situation. Although Kakashi was still somewhat lacking, he had mastered the Mangekyo Sharingan and could hold his own against anyone. Jiraiya did not say much and immediately began to take action. Now let's switch scenes and see what Zhou Ke is up to. Zhou Ke and Naruto used the Flying Thunder God to leap outside the village. After landing, Naruto asked, so, where are we? Is Sasuke that direction? We are outside the village. Oh, as for Sasuke's direction. That's a bit awkward. Zhou Ke scratched his head. He had been too focused on getting out quickly that he completely forgot they weren't sensory ninjas. How were they going to find Sasuke? Should we go back first? Naruto asked helplessly. That's not necessary, even though we can't, since we can solve this problem with sheer manpower. Zhou Ke transformed into Naruto and used the shadow clone technique. Oh, it can be done this way. Naruto immediately followed suit and created clones. Thus, 4,000 clones surged forward like a tidal wave. Even Naruto, who was used to the shadow clone technique, couldn't help but comment, this scene is really exaggerated. By the way, why do you always transform into me when using the shadow clone? Zhou Ke thought for a moment and said, actually, That's a feature of my transformation technique. What do you mean? Naruto asked, puzzled. My transformation technique completely transforms into the object of the transformation. Using your form for the clone technique is because you are the only one in the village who can do it. Now that his strength was enough, Zhou Ke didn't want to lie to his friends any longer as they were about to leave the village. Naruto's brain struggled to process this statement. Well, you'll understand in the future. Zhou Ke, too lazy to explain, transformed back to his original appearance. At that moment, Zhou Ke discovered 3 clones standing still. No need to think it was those 3. Finally this moment has come. The rebellious one spoke first. The one who complained said, "You seem very excited. Do you have some bad plans?" No, I'm just particularly looking forward to the first valley of the end battle. The rebellious one said. The one who complained retorted, "Are you trying to cause trouble?" The rebellious one replied, "No way. How could I possibly make myself the final boss and beat both Naruto and Sasuke at the same time?" The main body just revealed his plan. The one who complained immediately reported. Zhou Ke, upon hearing this, started holding his head, unsure of what to say. Meanwhile, Naruto asked, "Zhou Ke, are they your clones? Why can't I understand what they are saying?" "Don't mind them, they are all crazy," Zhou Ke said with a bitter smile. Luckily, Naruto was easy to fool, otherwise if those words were heard by others it would be a huge problem. "Alright, enough of the banter, let's get moving." The sage stepped in to stop them. "The other clones have already found the enemy's whereabouts, let's chase them now." At this point, Zhou Ke noticed that a clone had already discovered the enemy's location. No need for further discussion, they set off right away. After a brisk march, they encountered their first opponent. A burly man with prominent muscles, orange hair styled in a unique way, a silver necklace around his neck, thick purple rope tied at his waist, and pants adorned with a white bagua pattern. He was one of the sound ninja for Jirobo. Jirobo was recognized as the weakest among them. Although he appeared brutal and irritable, in reality, he was honest, cautious, and capable of calm analysis with a very cold and intelligent heart. In battle, he would provoke his opponents to incite their emotions, thus gaining control over them. Jirobo saw Zhou Ke and Naruto chasing after him and laughed. So you actually chased me. Although I'm somewhat displeased to be commanded by that Sasuke, if I can take down 2 Konoha pursuers, Orochimaru-sama should reward me, right? Just hearing Jirobo's words, it seemed that Sasuke had ordered him to stay. Zhou Ke, knowing the inside story, understood what was happening, but Naruto was different. Hearing that it was Sasuke who ordered the other to stay, he instantly exploded with rage. "What did you say?" "Sasuke. Impossible, absolutely impossible." Saying this, Naruto wanted to charge forward and fight Jirobo to the death. However, Zhou Ke stopped him. "Fighting with such an idiot is meaningless. We need to continue chasing Sasuke." "Who are you calling an idiot?" Jirobo shouted angrily. Despite being honest and cautious, being called an idiot right in front of him was enough to make him furious. However, his fist did not hit Naruto, as he was intercepted by the one who complained. He a power-type fighter. That's my favorite opponent." The one who complained caught Jirobo's punch and said with a smile, "Main body, leave him to me." "Okay, I'm counting on you." Zhou Ke directly grabbed Naruto and continued on their way. The sage and the rebellious one closely followed. "Stop. Don't think of escaping." Jirobo realized that the one who complained was a clone. He didn't want to be delayed by a mere clone, so he immediately turned to give chase. However, the next moment, he was sent flying. After crashing through several trees, he finally came to a halt. Holding his now swollen face, Jirobo looked at the person who had sent him flying. It was no longer Zhou Ke. Transformed into Haruno Sakura, the one who complained said, "Last time I didn't get to finish off that shark-faced freak, so I'll use you to practice this time. Prepare yourself, punching bag, just don't get easily knocked out." "Well, getting knocked out by me is normal, otherwise I wouldn't be called the Chaos Demon." Jiro Fong stood up from the ground and questioned, "What the hell? You turned into a woman. Are you trying to make me go easy on you this way?" Before Jiro Fong could finish his sentence, he saw a fist as big as a sandbag coming straight at his face. He quickly stopped his nonsense and jumped up like a fish to evade the punch he dodged, but the tree behind him suffered, getting split in half, and its upper body shattered into pieces. Such powerful strength. Is the opponent a taijutsu ninja? Is he really a manifestation of the spirit? Jiro Fong was astonished, simultaneously calculating how to deal with this transformed woman. However, the one who was complaining didn't give him a chance to think. The second punch had already come crashing down. TSK, Earth Release, Return to Earth. Left with no choice, Jiro Fong could only defend. This technique, Return to Earth, is a crank ninjutsu that slams both hands onto the ground to flip up a large stone slab to block the opponent's physical attack. It is a defensive Earth Release ninjutsu. However, this large stone slab was utterly useless, easily shattered into rubble by the complaining opponent's punch. The debris, propelled by the force of the punch, struck Jiro Fang's body like shotgun pellets, sending Jiro Fong flying. Ugh, what kind of power is this? The Jiro Fong who was hit exclaimed in misery. At this point Jiro Fong finally had a clear understanding of his opponent, not an ordinary person, he had to be cautious. Jiro Fong immediately adjusted his mindset, putting away his contempt for the enemy, and began to take the battle seriously. Then in midair black triangular pattern markings suddenly appeared on Jiro Fang's body. This was a sage art curse seal developed by Orochimaru. The curse seal was created by extracting bodily fluids from a person named Zhou Ke who had a unique constitution that allowed him to integrate natural energy into himself, and this curse seal effectively transformed the body into one similar to Zhou Ke's, enabling those who couldn't learn sage mode to tap into sage power. Orochimaru injected the power of the curse seal into the body by biting the opponent's neck, making them stronger, but this unnatural transformation leads to drastic physical changes. Although those marked by the curse seal can unleash tremendous power, it also forcibly extracts power in unlimited amounts, causing a significant erosion effect on the user, making it a double-edged sword. Moreover, excessive power can impact one's character, becoming more aggressive. Now Jiro Fong activated the curse seal state. There was no significant change in appearance, but his chakra level strength and speed would increase exponentially. Even his chakra turned exceptionally malevolent and chilling. With the surge in power, confidence returned to Jiro Fong as he turned in midair and landed steadily, then looked at the approaching complainer Sakura Haruno in Shippuden form with a confident smile. With a slap, Jiro Fong caught the complainer's fist with one hand, taunting, "Humph, not bad strength, but that's all." "Oh, what are you mumbling about? Cherry Blossom Barrage." The complainer didn't care what Jiro Fong said and threw another punch directly. Jiro Fong never expected that the opponent would completely ignore him and like a mad dog continue to swing punches, getting sent flying once again. Damn it, this woman is a lunatic. Jiro Fong cursed inwardly. His usual combat strategy involved taunting his opponent with words to provoke them and then controlling the fight. He would then use his proficient earth release techniques and immense strength to annihilate the enemy. By the way, he was already dazed from being hit and completely forgotten that his opponent was a he and not a she. Right? However, now the opponent's strength exceeded his own, and they did not heed his words. Psychological tactics were utterly ineffective. How the hell do I fight? How to fight? Forget it, crush him with brute force. The side effects of the curse seal began to manifest as Jiro Fang's mind started to heat up, preparing to resolve the battle through sheer force. Thus he adjusted his posture, landed smoothly, and used a new ninjutsu, Earth Release, Earth Lump. Using the enhanced strength from his chakra, he lifted up a massive rock from the ground and threw it at his opponent to launch an attack. In simple terms, it was just digging up a stone and throwing it away. How is this related to Earth Release? Asked Kishimoto. Take this back. As the stone flew over, the complainer directly caught, transformed, and used a cherry blossom throw to catch the boulder, then spun around and threw it back with even more force. Are you kidding me? Jiro Fong watched in horror as the giant rock he threw came back at him at triple the speed. He couldn't perform such a direct counter like that and got hit squarely by his own boulder. Is it over? No, the real battle has just begun. Under the boulder, Jiro Fong could only use his last trump card, Curse Seal 2. Where there is one, there is two. The Curse Seal indeed has a second form. Upon entering this state, there would be significant changes in body and appearance. Jiro Fang's hair grew longer, his eyes turned black, his skin became dark brown, and he developed some protruding bumps, while the texture also changed, becoming rougher and tougher. His massive body appeared even larger. The power of this form would be dozens of times that of State 1, but prolonged use risks losing oneself. The sudden increase in strength allowed Jiro Fong to easily lift the massive stone pressing down on him, but he did not do so. Being skilled in psychological warfare, he knew that this opponent fought like a mad dog and would not let him off just because he was pinned under a rock. What he needed to do was to wait for the opponent to break or lift the rock, then launch a surprise attack for the final blow. However, after waiting for a while, Jiro Fong felt no changes around him. Did the complainer leave? That shouldn't be the case. That woman fights like a mad dog. There's no way she would let me off this easily. What's with the ground shaking? Is something rushing at me? Jiro Fong suddenly had a bad feeling. He wanted to run. However, a tremendous force suddenly came from above, forcefully pinning him to the ground. The complainer in Tsunade form smashed a stone nearly 3 times bigger than the one Jiro Fong threw onto him, shouting, "Eat my boulder." The complainer didn't care what Jiro Fong thought. She would fight her way. When she threw the stone back earlier, she realized it would be hard for the Shippuden Sakura to kill Jiro Fong directly, so she switched to her red form Tsunade. Although the complainer usually looked lazy, she had secretly worked hard behind the scenes, unlocking Tsunade's form. Thus, with her enhanced strength, Tsunade hurled an enormous boulder onto Jiro Fang's head, then leaped high and punched down onto the stone. The double impact made Jiro Fong feel as if he had been struck by a meteor. Had he not been in Curse Seal 2 state, he would have died from that hit. However, although he was still alive, he was severely injured. Jiro Fong knew that if he received another punch, he would be doomed. This life-and-death crisis triggered immense potential within Jiro Fong, allowing him to lift both massive rocks off himself. Just 2 rocks. Watch me push it back with Sage Mode. Although it's not Sage Mode, it's something similar close enough. Wood Release. Suddenly the complainer began to throw punches one after another, rapidly striking down, and soon created afterimages while she rapped. Would release, would release, would release, would release, would release. The resilient Jiro Fong couldn't withstand the first blow. His arms and legs shattered, and he was ultimately pinned under the stone motionless. The complainer had no intention of stopping. After finishing her flurry of punches, she leaped into the air and performed a descending kick. Painful sky kick. By gathering chakra in her feet, she unleashed a destructive force far beyond physical limits, capable of cracking the earth with a single stomp. This kick split both massive stones apart and landed a devastating blow on Jiro Fang's head. Crack! Jiro Fang's head exploded like a watermelon. Now he was beyond dead. In reality, the moment the stone fell the second time, he had already died due to his bones being shattered and internal organs ruptured. Not even the curse seal could save him. The complainer's final kick was purely a post-mortem beating. Who all done that was exhilarating indeed. The berserker style is the most satisfying. After venting her excitement, the complainer revealed a happy smile. Alright, I've taken care of my opponent. What should I do next? The complainer thought for a moment that she should continue on their way, catch up with the others, and help them deal with the other Sound Ninja Quartet. But was it really necessary? These guys are so weak, but seems entirely unnecessary. I think he'll just take a break instead. Well, the complainer had no intention of catching up and went off to find a place to slack off. Preparing ninja tools, Zhou Ke and Naruto continued on their journey, and after a while they encountered the second roadblock boss, one of the Sound Ninja Quartet, Goetong Maru. Goetong Maru had 6 arms resembling a being like Spider-Man. He had blue-black hair, black eyes, yellow skin, and always wore a mischievous expression. He was playful and mischievous. His head was adorned with a Sound Ninja forehead protector, and he wore a sleeveless gray top facilitating the movement of his 6 arms. He was tied with a thick purple rope around his waist, and his lower clothing was printed with a white bagua pattern. This was considered the common uniform of the Sound Ninja Quartet. Once again, like before, one person stayed behind to fight him, while the others sped off. This time it was the sage. Damn it, where is he? Goetong Maru thought in fear. Is this a thought typical of a villain? Goetong Maru was skilled at calculations and enjoyed playing games. He was a ninja who hoped to engage in battles with opponents that could bring him pleasure. Intense combat, he always liked to set rules and enjoyed treating battles as games. Because he possessed absolute confidence, a relaxed attitude, and an innate cruelty to him, the purpose of battle was to enjoy. Even life and death struggles felt like mere games. However, in the battle against the sage, it felt like he was the one being toyed with. Goetong Maru's combat style was akin to that of a spider. He spat silk from his mouth. He could secrete sticky webs from his mouth, which allowed him to directly spit out spider silk to ensnare and attack, while also expanding into various attack methods. In addition to the sticky webs, he could also secrete a golden metal that could gather in his mouth like saliva or ooze out like sweat from his pores. This metal was highly malleable when first produced, but once exposed to air, it would quickly harden, becoming as solid as steel. Thus, he could solidify it into various weapon shapes at will, depending on the battle situation, launching attacks against his opponents. Relying on these 2 abilities, he toyed with his opponents in the complex terrain of the forest, launching silk attacks from blind spots, or more directly using the metal he created to shoot arrows and deliver lethal strikes. In summary, this individual is a playful humanoid villain who enjoys hiding in dark corners and toying with his enemies. However, as previously mentioned, he couldn't find his opponent right now. The sage was hiding somewhere unknown, like a ghost gnawing away at Goetong Maru's spirit. At the beginning, the sage had stayed behind, claiming he would deal with him. Goetong Maru had looked down on this foolish move. How could a mere clone take on me, a member of the Sound Ninja Quartet? So he ignored the sage and charged at Zhou Ke and the others. However, he quickly regretted that decision. Just as he shifted his attention to Zhou Ke and the others, he saw dozens of shurikens, kunai, and crows flying at him from different directions. This wasn't a quantity one person could throw. Was there an ambush? He hurriedly dodged the attack, but while evading, Zhou Ke and the others had already run far, and the sage who was supposed to stay behind had vanished. Did he run away too? Goetong Maru had no time to worry about that clone. Right now, he only wanted to find those who had ambushed him. After running around the area, he discovered no one was there. Goetong Maru. Who am just scaring myself? Just as he finished saying this, dozens of kunai flew from different corners. Goetong Maru successfully dodged most of them, but the one shot from his blind spot caught him off guard. Thus, his knee, back, and all 4 arms were pierced. In reality, it was kunai. Even so, Goetong Maru still couldn't find his enemy. What the hell? I'm the only one who toys with others. Who dares to toy with me? Come out. Goetong Maru, terrified, summoned his summoning beast, the rain spider. This technique summoned a giant spider and produced numerous small spiders, allowing them to attack the enemy simultaneously. However, Goetong Maru didn't summon these spiders to attack the enemy. Rather, he used them as his eyes to scout the surroundings. With so many spies, surely they would discover something, right? However, nothing was found. He had fought for what felt like an eternity, yet still did not know his enemy's identity. An intangible dread seeped into Kikamaru's heart, warping his mind until his foe loomed in his imagination as a monstrous specter. Stay calm. Do not panic. He is merely a genin from Konoha. This is just one of his techniques. My first priority now is to escape this uncanny place. Kikamaru forced himself to steady his breath and prepared for tactical withdrawal. Yet barely 2 leaps into his retreat, a lightning-infused Fuma Shuriken whistled out from some unseen crevice, severing his right arm clean off. HNGH, over there. The searing agony nearly overwhelmed him, but Kikamaru was no novice. Having survived hundreds of battles, he would not let pain cost him his chance to counterattack. In response, he extruded metallic filaments to forge a bow and arrow-spun chakra-threaded spider silk into taut bowstring and drew the string with all 5 arms, loosing the arrow toward the shuriken's origin. The shot carried devastating force, piercing every obstacle in its path, only to strike empty air. Damn it, he evaded it. As Kikamaru recoiled in frustration, another Fuma Shuriken flashed from the shadows, shearing off his left arm. That second strike shattered his composure entirely. His mind unraveled, and he began lashing out wildly, blindly. After a frantic barrage of attacks, he staggered backward, gasping for breath against a tree trunk. Curse you. I'll find you, and when I do, I'll. Suddenly, he felt the bark behind him shift. The tree moved. I'm done with this. Kikamaru bolted forward in sheer panic, then misstepped into oblivion. Unbeknownst to him, the earth ahead had long since collapsed into a bottomless chasm. He plummeted, endlessly, soundlessly, into eternal descent. This is your fate. Those who toy with others shall themselves be toyed with, like puppets on strings. Sage Itachi's hand settled upon Kikamaru's head. All that had transpired, the ambush, the terror, the fall, had been nothing but Jinjutsu. From the moment he first glimpsed the crows, Kikamaru had already fallen under the sage's illusion, trapped within a phantasmal arena, locked in a duel not with an opponent, but with his own unraveling psyche. Thus fell the second of the Sound Four. Having secured victory, the sage vanished without pause, Shunshin fading into silence. Preparing ninja tools. What a disappointment, muttered Jayakuten, seated atop the corpse of the third Sound Four member Sakan. Nearby, Yukon lay pinned to the ground by a blade of azure chakra, immobile, defeated. Was it already over? Yes, it was over. The main act hadn't even begun, and yet it ended. Refund demanded. Very well, here is a concise account. After advancing, Zhou Ke and his companions soon encountered the third barrier, Sakan. His jutsu defied convention. Though appearing as a single man, he was in truth a twin brother composite. His elder brother slept dormant within his body, awakened only in battle to fight side by side, causing extra limbs to erupt mid-combat, lending overwhelming versatility. Yukon possessed the ability to disintegrate his form into dust, infiltrate an enemy's body, consume their cells, and reassemble himself unharmed outside. When fused, their wounds regenerated instantly. Even grievous injuries healed in moments. In sheer regenerative capacity, they surpassed even the Nine Tails. And who remained to confront this duo? None other than Jayakuten. There was no alternative. Zhou Ke, the original, could not afford to linger. Jayakuten wasted no time. Once Zhou Ke's group had distanced themselves, he activated his latest transformation, Orochimaru's Edo Tensei version of Madara Uchiha. Sakan, I'm supposed to fight Madara Uchiha. Was this real? Before the brothers could process the impossibility, Jayakuten struck. Swift, brutal, absolute. Sakan perished instantly. Yukon was impaled upright by Susanoo's azure blade, paralyzed and helpless. Cursed, what are you, a? Yukon rasped through agony. A monster? No, I am a demon. Jayakuten, still wearing Madara's visage, clenched his fist and crushed Yukon to crimson mist with Susanoo's grip. Once Yukon was obliterated, Jayakuten dispelled the transformation and mused idly. Madara Uchiha's power is formidable, yet my host body lacks the stamina to sustain it for long. Clearly, I must first strengthen my foundation. Well then, time grows short. Let us witness the final clash at the Valley of the End. With that, Jayakuten likewise vanished, Shunshin dissolving into wind. Preparing ninja tools. After an unimpeded pursuit, Naruto and Zhou Ke finally cornered Sasuke and the last surviving member of the Sound Four, Tayuya. Defeat Tayuya and Sasuke would be reclaimed. A jest. What of Sasuke's infiltration mission for Orochimaru? So, how should this unfold? Sasuke vs. Naruto. Tayuya vs. Zhou Ke. Sasuke and Naruto aside, Tayuya posed no challenge to Zhou Ke whatsoever. She was little more than roadside debris, unless Zhou Ke deliberately held back. Yet restraint proved unnecessary. Reinforcements arrived. Yakushi Kabuto's final guardian Kimimaro Kagaya. Wait, weren't the sound for already complete? Where did this fifth appear from? Everyone knows the four Heavenly Kings number 5. Indeed, 5 members is perfectly normal for the sound 4. Originally, they were the sound 5. Kimimaro, the strongest, led the others. But due to a hereditary illness, his physical capabilities deteriorated severely. Only potent drugs allowed him to fight, and after his condition worsened, the 5 became 4. Now terminally ill, Kimimaro chose to wage one final battle for Orochimaru, a suicide mission. Even if victorious, he would succumb to disease. He entered combat with resolve forged in farewell. Kimimaro's arrival halted Zhou Ke and Naruto in their tracks, while Sasuke departed without hesitation. Though concerned for their safety, Sasuke trusted their strength, certain they would overcome this ailing adversary. After a tense interval, Naruto's patience snapped. The Nine-Tails chakra erupted, golden and furious, as Zhou Ke shielded him, enabling Naruto to breach Kimimaro's defense and sprint after Sasuke. Only Zhou Ke and Kimimaro remained, alone face-to-face. Wait, where was Tayuya? Oh, she'd been dismissed as roadside debris and kicked to death. Her skill simply paled before Zhou Ke's current might. A single flying thunder god kick, borrowing Minato Namake's youth, followed by a perfect-timed Rasengan slam, and she was gone. Back to the matter at hand. Zhou Ke versus Kimimaro, the likely final battle of the pre-Shippuden arc. Preview. Next begins the original arc, Zhou Ke's Shinobi World Adventure. Characters to appear include Mei Terumi, ordinary villagers Rodai, Roni Leg Shadow, Little Tsuchi, and the Calabash brothers. After releasing Naruto, Kimimaro fixed his full attention upon Zhou Ke. Zhou Ke, intrigued, asked, "You aren't chasing Naruto?" "No. Lord Orochimaru's command is clear. You must not pass. I am to eliminate you here." Kimimaro answered frankly. "Targeted specifically. I know something of your condition. You're dying, aren't you, eh?" Zhou Ke countered, "Yet something feels unnatural. Has Orochimaru done something to you?" Kimimaro's vitality far exceeded expectations. This discrepancy stirred Zhou Ke's suspicion. Had Orochimaru intervened? His doubt stemmed largely from Orochimaru's earlier battle with the third Hokage, where he had acted with uncanny foresight, as if privy to destiny itself. "Since you've perceived it," Kimimaro stripped off his upper garment, revealing supple, unblemished flesh. At once Zhou Ke noticed, Kimimaro's arm was unnaturally pale, pure white. Around the forearm encircled a band-like device, within which faint pulses suggested continuous infusion into his veins. White arm? Could it be white Zetsu tissue? Then, Hashirama's cells. Zhou Ke instantly grasped why Kimimaro appeared so robust. Had Hashirama's cells been grafted into him, sustaining life through their prodigious vitality? Yet while Hashirama's cells grant immense regenerative power, incompatible hosts risk being consumed, transformed into sentient trees by the very life force they harbor. So, had science uncovered a method to suppress cellular rebellion, to stabilize the graft? Unlikely. Current technology cannot reliably control Hashirama's cells, not even by the end of the Shippuden era, save for Naruto's prosthetic limb grown from those same cells. Even Danzo required binding devices to restrain the cells grafted into his own body. If Kimimaro were naturally compatible, his illness would never have progressed so far. Thus, he too must rely on external suppression. The band is the key. Could it be the Amazon armlet? Joke aside, now begins the true battle, in service of Lord Orochimaru's will. Even if it costs me my life, I will defeat you. With that cry of loyalty, of bond, he charged toward Zhou Ke. "Hey, you're supposed to be the villain. That's not how villains talk," Zhou Ke muttered, exasperated, his hands already weaving seals. Doton Earth Dragon Bullet, Katon Fire Dragon Bullet. These were Zhou Ke's newest techniques. The Earth Dragon Bullet summoned a chakra-formed dragon that unleashed a torrent of earthen slurry. The Fire Dragon Bullet expelled a concentrated lance of flame, inflicting severe thermal trauma. Indeed, this dual technique combo echoed the third Hokage's legendary assault. Yet such linear area denial techniques suffered from abysmal accuracy, requiring either precise control or a stunned opponent to land cleanly. Sure enough, Kimimaro sidestepped effortlessly, and in that same instant he retaliated, bone erupting from his palms. Shikatsumiyaku 10-finger drill. Kimimaro's Kekkei Genkai enabled rapid osteogenesis, allowing him to weaponize bone grown directly from his body. This technique fired finger bones like projectiles, replenishable endlessly thanks to his regenerative bloodline. In essence, a skeletal rendition of the one-finger strike, or perhaps a bone-forged pistol. Its destructive power was legendary, even Gaara's sand armor barely endured it. His finger bones erupted, yet Zhou Ke had vanished. The Earth-Fire combo was a projectile technique. Once launched, he had already teleported away. This move served only to obscure your vision and deflects a bit of flare. The real killing blow lies elsewhere. Zhou Ke reappeared behind Kimimaro, now bearing the form of Minato Namikaze, the fourth Hokage. Having mastered the youthful Jiraiya form, he had finally unlocked this pinnacle transformation. At last, Zhou Ke possessed a true cage-level transformation. What of the Edo Tensei Madara? He remains unaware of that option. And besides, Edo Madara surely transcends Kagedeer altogether. Thus, combat commenced in water mode. Appearing behind Kimimaro, Zhou Ke drove a Rasengan toward his spine. The backscratcher Rasengan, a tactic proven time and again. Kimimaro lacked time to pivot, but reacted instinctively. Ribs erupted from his back, fusing into an impenetrable bony carapace. This won't stop me. Zhou Ke smirked, the Rasengan crackling with lightning, its shape twisting violently into the Chidori Senbon drill. The ultimate fusion of shape and nature transformation pierced the bony carapace effortlessly, boring straight through Kimimaro's torso, and sent him spiraling violently away. Zhou Ke landed lightly, observing Kimimaro's chest, now rent by a gaping wound. He flew clear, unintended. This technique still requires refinement. His ideal Chidori Senbon drill was meant to pierce deep, then unleash torsional force to shred the target, blending the Rasengan's spiral devastation with the Chidori's piercing lethality. Yet the final vortex hurled the target outward, failing to integrate the Rasengan's core principle, internal disruption. Truly merging Rasengan and Chidori remains a profound challenge. Still, such a grievous wound should cripple even Kimimaro. Was this victory? No, not so easily. Before Zhou Ke's eyes, the wound sealed, cell by cell, regenerating at speeds rivaling Tsunade's Byakugo seal. Zhou Ke stared dumbfounded. What the hell? How many Hashirama cells are packed into that body? Kimimaro rose to his feet as if unharmed, a feat scarcely imaginable for one who had just been pierced through the chest. Yet he was not entirely unscathed. The ashen pallor spreading across his body had intensified, creeping steadily outward. In places, slender boughs sprouted from his flesh, as though preparing to bloom. Was the uncontrollable Hashirama cells beginning to consume him from within? Upon rising, he reached into his shinobi's pouch and withdrew a portable injectable vial, administering it directly into the band encircling his forearm. Instantly, the ashen patches stabilized. Zhou Ke silently speculated, that must be an inhibitor for Hashirama cells. Once restored, Kimimaro calmly remarked to Zhou Ke, you are formidable. Not particularly, Zhou Ke thought, inwardly bemused. Speaking with him in this form felt distinctly uncanny. Zhou Ke mentally scoffed. Kimimaro's voice actor was Toshiyuki Morikawa, the same actor who voiced Minato Namikaze. Thus he was effectively fighting himself. Of course, only Zhou Ke found it strange. Kimimaro felt no such dissonance. The first exchange had made it clear to Kimimaro that his base form stood no chance against an opponent capable of assuming others' identities. Thus, Cursed Seal Level 2 activate. He bypassed Cursed Seal Level 1 entirely, entering Level 2 without hesitation. A prudent decision, born of composure and unwavering self-assurance. Such temperament enabled him to face any adversary with serene equanimity. In Level 2, his skin darkened to a deep umber black. Obsidian-like markings bloomed across his face. His back swelled grotesquely, erupting, with 6 massive wing-like bone spurs, and a sinuous tail unfurled. Yet the ashen regions wrought by Hashirama cells remained unpigmented. Evidently their energy surpassed even that of a counterfeit sage mode. Oh, Cursed Seal activated. Do you truly believe that will secure victory over me? Zhou Ke scattered shuriken in all directions. Let me be frank, your speed is insufficient to catch me. Withdraw now, flee while you still can. At least then you'll survive a little longer. With such a vast disparity in velocity, Kimimaro would merely be toyed with. Victory utterly impossible. Even so, I shall not retreat, not here. For I wield the power bestowed upon me by Lord Orochimaru. His right hand contorted violently, bone erupted from beneath his flesh, sheathing the limb entirely in a spiraling drill-like structure. Though unnamed, this technique possessed extraordinary piercing force. In the original chronicles, even Gaara's ultimate defense Shikaku's shield barely withstood it. Wait, something was different. This was no mere bony drill. Its tip reshaped into a barrel-like aperture, vine-like tendrils burst forth from its base, then coiled inward rhythmically, as if inhaling. Something's wrong. Evade immediately. Zhou Ke instantly teleported via Flying Thunder God technique. As he vanished, the tendrils detonated, launching a wooden spear from the osseous barrel at blinding velocity toward Zhou Ke. Zhou Ke narrowly dodged using Flying Thunder God. The projectile instead struck a massive tree behind him, shattering it outright. Not one but 4 consecutive trees exploded before the wooden spear finally embedded itself in a 5th. Damn, Barrett-level firepower. Zhou Ke recoiled in shock. This ability was unmistakably a fusion of Shikatsumiyaku, and Wood Release hardened skeletal matter formed the barrel, while Wood Release served as the firing mechanism propelling a hybrid wooden bone spike, its density far exceeding ordinary Wood Release constructs. If his earlier 10-finger drill blast resembled a musket, this was artillery, no something beyond mere artillery. Zhou Ke noticed the final tree struck had not merely splintered, it had turned to ash. What in the world? Kekkei Mora's all-killing ash bone. All-killing ash bone, a Kekkei Mora unique to Kagaya Otsutsuki, the primordial chakra progenitor, capable of transforming skeletal composition into lethal weapons. This technique reshapes bone into razor-sharp projectiles launched from the palms. Those struck rapidly decay, dissolving into ash within seconds. Even Yin-Yang release healing proves futile. The Hyuga clan may descend from Kagaya herself. Now her descendants' bloodline, fused with Senju power, has resurrected the progenitor's legacy. No, that wasn't quite it. Zhou Ke suddenly realized the tree hadn't instantly ashed. It had withered, its vitality drained entirely by the wooden bone spike before crumbling into dust. Meanwhile, the spike itself plunged into the earth and began sprouting. Within moments, it had become a sapling. Zhou Ke muttered inwardly, "Phew, just scaring myself. But what is this ability?" A tentative hypothesis Wood Release's life-siphoning capacity merged with Shikatsumiyaku's regenerative proliferation, causing the projectile upon impact to absorb the target's vitality and rapidly grow. It's even more sinister than the piercing root technique. Kimimaro surveyed the result with evident satisfaction, truly worthy of Lord Orochimaru's gift. Orochimaru this, Orochimaru that. You've no life of your own. Zhou Ke retorted. Lord Orochimaru is my life. Kimimaro leveled the barrel at Zhou Ke and fired again. Zhou Ke continued evading via flying thunder god, pointless. No matter how potent the jutsu, it means nothing if it cannot strike its mark. I know. As he spoke, a similar apparatus unfolded on his other arm. This time 6 rotating barrels whirred into place. Seriously, Gatling gun. A torrent of projectiles forced Zhou Ke to accelerate his teleportation cadence. He snarled, "Are you suicidal?" My vitality surges again, but it matters not. My life, my existence, all belong to Lord Orochimaru. Kimimaro dispelled the ossification of his right hand, then emptied every vial from his shinobi's pouch, not injecting them into his forearm band, but directly into his body. Such an overdose. Enough to wrench agony even from Kimimaro's stoic countenance, who treated life and death with detached serenity. Gritting through the torment, he transformed his right arm into another Gatling configuration. Not stopping there, his legs, his spine, even his perineum erupted with gun barrels. Yes, his perineum. Zhou Ke, no way. I absolutely cannot get hit by that. His entire body bristled with barrels. To name this grotesque incarnation the Demon of Guns. Zhou Ke, Demon of Guns. Then where's Mikima? Kimimaro's horrifying metamorphosis stirred genuine respect in Zhou Ke. With solemn gravity, he declared, "To honor you, I shall deploy my most formidable technique." Is that so? Excellent. Kimimaru felt a flicker of satisfaction. Witnessing his opponent's ultimate technique was a rare privilege. Yet devotion to Orochimaru remained paramount. Thus, every barrel pivoted and locked onto every flying thunder god marker Zhou Ke had scattered. Then, fire. Behold, this is the supreme secret art of my current form, the 4th Hokage Minato Namikaze. Zhou Ke vanished mid-sentence via flying thunder god. Kimimaro's barrage struck every marker, except Zhou Ke himself. He's jumped to a shuriken outside the blast radius. Irrelevant. Keep firing. Kimimaro ignored all distractions, unleashing round after round, until abruptly he sensed something amiss. Where was he? Preparing equipment. Hokage's office. Why are you back already? Where's Naruto? Tsunade stared stunned as Zhou Ke appeared via instantaneous transmission. Oh, he's chasing Sasuke. Don't worry, I saw Jiraiya-senpai and Kakashi-sensei following closely. Naruto's in no danger. Zhou Ke dispelled his transformation and sank into a chair beside Tsunade. Shizune, seated nearby under Tsunade's tutelage, blinked in bewilderment. Wait, why did you come back just to sit here? Since this pursuit was staged, Tsunade felt no urgency, calmly instructing Shizune in ninjutsu. I didn't return merely to idle. I've just deployed Minato Namikaze's ultimate technique, the homebound Minato. Zhou Ke gave a thumbs up. Indeed, this was his ultimate art, the homebound Minato. Simply put, cease combat, return home to rest, and strike when the enemy tires. Ranked alongside legendary memes, healthy Itachi, milk-grown Killer Naruto, unwavering Obito, and Intel Jiraiya. This jutsu was genuinely devious. As the adage goes, one may steal for 1,000 days, but none can guard vigilantly for 1,000. Vigilance inevitably wanes, yet at that precise moment a spatial leap delivers a flawless assassination, truly the pinnacle of stealth arts. And Kimimaro clearly operated under strict temporal limits. Those massive drug doses further ravaged his failing physiology, while the Hashirama cells accelerated his demise. His current ferocity stemmed solely from indomitable will. Under such circumstances, Zhou Ke had zero reason to engage Hiden. He simply teleported home, napped briefly, and by the time he awoke, Kimimaro would likely be dead. In short, this technique was profoundly dishonorable. Even the author couldn't resist interjecting, "Hey, wasn't it agreed you'd honor him with your strongest move? Do you take me for a fool? Why risk everything against a death-seeking madman?" Zhou Ke scoffed. "My sole objective is victory. If winning demands blinding myself with blood, so be it. Dishonor is my greatest strength." Why. This fourth wall-breaking banter occurs outside the narrative. Readers may chuckle and proceed. Returning to reality, Tsunade sighed, exasperated. "Not even your great-grandfather was this ruthless. Minato, ever the radiant, upright hero, never resorted to such tactics, nor did his famously cunning grandfather, the second Hokage Tobirama Senju. This child truly is devious." Tobirama, "Hey Tsunade, must you describe your great-grandfather so? What do you mean devious? It's brilliance. This is the true application of Flying Thunder God. Tobirama would praise me if he knew." Zhou Ke lifted his chin proudly. Besides, who claimed Tobirama didn't use it? Every day, thousands of Tobermans employed Flying Thunder God to swap positions and ambush opponents in the training arena. Tsunade sighed again, abandoning the subject. "Fine. Dishonorable tactics against enemies are acceptable. But according to your account, Orochimaru's elite enforcers, the Sound Four, are now fully neutralized." "Yes, they're all dead." Though uncertain of his clone's exact status, Zhou Ke trusted they'd succeeded. An extraordinary accomplishment. Now we await Naruto's outcome. Tsunade gazed into the distance. Zhou Ke added, "I'll go check on Kimimaro first. If he's deceased, I'll join Naruto and the others." So saying, he transformed once more and leapt back via Flying Thunder God. Watching Zhou Ke arrive and vanish in a flash, Tsunade murmured, "His technique is astonishingly versatile. I'm tempted to study its underlying principles." As a medical nin and researcher, Tsunade held deep fascination for Zhou Ke's unique ability to assume others' forms. Thus, Zhou Ke's earlier apprehension proved justified. Many indeed wished to study him. Preparing equipment. Zhou Ke didn't return immediately. Kimimaro could endure a little longer. Instead, he stopped at Ichiraku Ramen for a bowl, then proceeded to inspect the battlefield. After slurping down his meal and belching contentedly, Zhou Ke returned, only to find a towering tree studded with tattered fragments of Kimimaro's clothing and countless bone spikes. Evidently, Kimimaro had succumbed to Hashirama cell corruption, transforming entirely into a tree, much like Danzo's left arm. So devotion to Orochimaru culminates in arboreal existence. Well, in a sense, he'll live far longer. Trees outlive humans by centuries. Though devoid of consciousness or mobility, Kimimaro had never possessed independent thought anyway. His mind belonged wholly to Orochimaru. Such an end suited him perfectly. Well then, sweet dreams, Kagaya Kimimaro. Zhou Ke turned and departed, bound for Naruto. Yet as he walked, a familiar sequence of letters flashed before his eyes, the very same phenomenon witnessed in Chapter 1 of this tale. Perfect clone technique. Unlocked. What? So the prior clones weren't perfect? What new capability does this unlock? Zhou Ke stood dumbfounded. What did this sudden unlocking signify? Moreover, perfect transformation technique, perfect clone technique. Is there also a perfect substitution technique, yet to be revealed? Naruto broke through Kimimaro's defense and finally caught up with Sasuke at the Valley of the End. Seeing Naruto chase after him, Sasuke secretly rejoiced. He Naruto indeed has me in his heart. Wait, why am I having this thought? Sasuke suddenly realized that such girlish thoughts should not belong to him, immediately correcting his mindset and returning to his aloof demeanor. After catching up to Sasuke, Naruto stood on the river at the Valley of the End and immediately questioned Sasuke. Why did you leave the village? Humph. There's nothing worth remembering in the village for me anymore. Sasuke said coolly, I am an avenger. My life is entirely for revenge, and for that I need greater strength. But can't you do that in the village? If you want power, go find Kakashi Sensei. He can teach us. Kakashi can't even bring back his own friends. What can such a useless person teach? Sasuke retorted. Innocent Kakashi expressed, damn. But even without Kakashi Sensei, there's still. Who else? Sasuke asked Naruto, don't act cute just because you have guidance from the legendary three. There's no one left in the village suitable to teach me. This left Naruto somewhat speechless. Having Jiraiya's guidance was indeed quite unfair, and imagining Jiraiya teaching Sasuke. Just picturing Sasuke summoning a toad felt so weird. But we can't go find Orochimaru. Isn't there a better option? Although Naruto had only seen Orochimaru in the Forest of Death, due to Zhou Ke he still had a bad impression of Orochimaru and had heard about Orochimaru's obsession with Sasuke's body. That made it even worse. I've made up my mind, you don't need to persuade me further. Sasuke couldn't say in front of Naruto. This was a task assigned from above, so you should hurry back. To bring Naruto back. It seemed he would have to fight, so Sasuke took up a stance and said, of course, for you the perennial underdog, a simple sentence won't get you to go back, so come on, let's fight. If I win, you will obediently return to the village with me. But let me say this first, I am not the same as before, don't think of me as the underdog anymore. I know that's exactly why I want to fight you, underdog. Sasuke's slightly teasing tone made Naruto blush involuntarily, then he became excited. Great, Sasuke acknowledged me. Are you two flirting here? Anyway, enough talk, it's time to fight. However, the two did not engage because a common enemy had appeared. Uchiha Itachi. No, it should be called the Sage. The Sage suddenly barged in between them and said to Naruto, Uzumaki Naruto, the host of the Nine Tails, behave and surrender. What the hell is this guy planning? No matter what he wants, the Sage was indeed serious, immediately using the Mangekyo Sharingan. Seeing the Sage's eyes, Sasuke shouted, Naruto, don't look at his eyes. After saying this, Sasuke charged towards Itachi. Naruto obediently turned his gaze elsewhere and prepared his defenses. This does not concern you. The Sage formed a one-handed seal, sending a shadow clone to charge at Sasuke. Don't underestimate me, I'm not who I used to be. Sasuke's 3-Demo Sharingan spun rapidly, clearly seeing every movement of the clone, easily dodged it, and grasping the Chidori, continued to charge at the Sage. Facing the approaching Sasuke, the Sage abandoned attacking Naruto and turned towards Sasuke, launching a series of quick punches, easily overpowering Sasuke, then threw him away. Damn, the gap is still so large, I can't defeat him on my own. As Sasuke flew in the air, he began to think of strategies. His target is Naruto. How can I protect Naruto and let him escape? At that moment, Sasuke felt someone catch him. It was Naruto who jumped up to catch Sasuke after seeing him become an aerial acrobat. After being caught by Naruto, Sasuke angrily scolded, idiot. His target is you, hurry and run. However, Naruto dismissively said, I'm strong and don't need to run in. He is your enemy, right? If that's the case, he'll help you take revenge. Together no one can defeat us. Seeing Naruto's confident attitude, Sasuke was speechless. Sigh. Why are you so brave yet reckless? Forget it since you say, so let's team up. After the earlier engagement, although he knew he wasn't a match for Itachi the Sage with Naruto by his side, perhaps they could win. Thus Sasuke and Naruto joined forces to challenge the Sage. Meanwhile, Kakashi and Jiraiya, who were supposed to secretly protect Naruto, were also intercepted. Uchiha Obito, actually a rebel. Kakashi immediately said with deep emotion, Obito. You again. Jiraiya felt an overwhelming sense of tension. Although he had never faced Obito, the combination of Tsunade, Zhou Ke, and Naruto had almost put Zhou Ke on the brink of death. Underestimating him would bring great trouble. Sorry, this road is closed. I can't let you assist the Nine Tails host. The rebel smiled and said, well, let me help that guy one last time to repay him for this shadow clone technique, so I don't have to owe any more debts in the future. In any case, Jiraiya and Kakashi were also blocked. No matter what the Sage planned from here on out, it would be up to Naruto and Sasuke to face it themselves. By the way, Zhou Ke at that moment was still enjoying his noodles. Zhou Ke, Uncle Ichiraku, add 2 slices of chashu for me, thank you. Back to Naruto and Sasuke. Both of their strengths had improved compared to the original work. Sasuke was doubtful as he no longer had the cursed seal, and relying on their close cooperation, they actually fought evenly with the Sage. Faced with this situation, the Sage directly enhanced his strength. Uchiha Itachi, Susanoo activate. The Akatsuki Itachi had also been used for a long time, and his experience was sufficient to activate Susanoo. After activating the new form, the Sage immediately summoned the third power of the Mangekyo Sharingan, Susanoo. This is the third power that can only be unlocked with the Mangekyo Sharingan, known as the power of the gods, though it could also be referred to as a blue plastic bag. Susanoo symbolizes destruction. Being torn apart by others also represents destruction, and the world says once seen death is unavoidable. It's either him dying or me being captured and dying afterward. Anyway, death is inevitable. It doesn't matter who dies. Having boasted enough, it's time to describe the skill. This technique manifests a colossal chakra into a formidable warrior for battle, an ultimate ocular technique that integrates offense and defense, and as the user's ocular power strengthens, Susanoo grows in stages, a total of 4 stages. The Sage merely used the first form, skeletal form, yet exhibited absolute dominance. Sasuke, who had never seen such power, suffered a heavy blow. When he stabbed the Sage with a kunai, he was punched away by Susanoo and crashed against the cliff at the Valley of the End, coming to a halt. This heavy blow left Sasuke unable to move for a short time. Danzo stabbing Susanoo with a kunai. You've got your day now, eh? Naruto was also in a bad situation. Although he unleashed the chakra of the first tail and even began to develop toward the second tail, this level of power was still insufficient against Susanoo, and Naruto was easily subdued, slammed hard against the wall. Now both of them were down. Next it was time to conclude. Sasuke, lying on the water, looked at the sage walking toward Naruto. He knew Naruto was about to be captured, and once captured, he might die. This thought ignited a powerful force within Sasuke, allowing him to stand up again. Then with crackling Chidori in hand, Sasuke launched a desperate assault on the sage. However, he was still easily restrained, grabbed by the neck and lifted into the air. Sasuke, unwilling to yield, gritted his teeth and said, "If you want to take him, you'll have to cross over my corpse. For the sake of an outsider, you've given up on revenge. You disappoint me too much." The sage calmly said, "Since you want to die so badly, I'll grant you your wish." The sage pulled out a kunai and stabbed it towards Sasuke's heart. Splat! Blood splattered, but it wasn't Sasuke's, it was Naruto's. Before Sasuke could be stabbed, Naruto crawled up and blocked in front of Sasuke. The kunai pierced through Naruto's body. Being pierced through Naruto didn't stop his actions. He twisted his head and bit the sage's arm that was holding Sasuke's neck. In pain, the sage released Sasuke, focusing entirely on grappling with Naruto. Meanwhile, it was unclear when, but the sage's right eye closed. Naruto didn't care why the sage closed his eyes crazily, saying, "I've heard that what you want is the 9 tails inside me, right? They say if I die, that guy will die with me. Haha, I'll die for you right now. I don't think you can have it." After saying this, Naruto also told Sasuke, "Sasuke, you should run." Sasuke's eyes widened as he looked at Naruto, who was desperately biting Itachi the sage, ignoring Naruto's words and thinking, why is this happening again? Why must he watch an important person die before his eyes again? Unwillingness and anger spread in his heart. Again, memories of the past with Naruto began to surface. Our memories were all carefully stored. I always secretly cried like a weary bird losing its way, yet I hoped the love I believed in would tightly grasp the ending in my hands. Time rushed by, but left the past untouched. Obito, this is my song, mine. No, I cannot accept this ending. Intense emotions surged in his mind, and a special chakra was generated, then acted on his optic nerves. Sasuke's Sharingan spun, rapidly transforming into a petal-like shape. When a member of the Uchiha clan loses something important to love, a special chakra surges in their brain, acting on the optic nerves, causing changes in the eyes. This is the Mangekyo Sharingan. Unaware of the change in his eyes, Sasuke felt a sharp pain in his left eye, but compared to losing Naruto, a friend willing to sacrifice his life for him, this pain was nothing. I must save Naruto. Driven by this strong desire, a certain technique was activated. Amaterasu. Dark flames ignited on the sage. The sage, engulfed in black flames, tossed Naruto away due to the excruciating pain rolling in the water. However, the characteristics of Amaterasu ensured that even when encountering water, it would not extinguish. This was purely futile effort. Although Sasuke was surprised why his brother's technique was now burning his brother, he had no time to care about that, rushing over to check on Naruto, who was floating on the river. Not good. Naruto was also caught by Amaterasu flames beginning to engulf his entire body. Sasuke quickly splashed water on him, but it was of no use, causing Sasuke to panic. How could this happen? How do I extinguish this fire? In front of the unextinguishable fire, Sasuke was flustered, not knowing what to do. At that moment, through the water's surface, he noticed the change in his eyes. Is this my eyes? So, this is my technique. In a state of emergency, Sasuke instantly understood what was happening and immediately continued to use his newly acquired Mangekyo Sharingan. Since it's my technique, I can control it, extinguish it for me. Driven by powerful emotions, the Mangekyo activated again. Amaterasu's flames extinguished. However, Sasuke clutched his eyes, kneeling on the water's surface. Ugh. This is the Mangekyo Sharingan. While it brings immense power, the cost is also painful. But I cannot be stopped by this pain. Naruto. Worried about Naruto's condition, Sasuke forcibly opened his eyes. However, to his amazement, Naruto surprisingly had not been burned. No, not only had Naruto not been burned, even the part that had been pierced by the sage was completely unharmed, merely floating unconscious on the water. What was happening? At that moment, Itachi's voice echoed, "This is the ultimate illusion technique of the Uchiha clan, Izanagi. At the cost of sacrificing one Sharingan, it can turn unfavorable events that occurred within a certain time frame into non-events, while making favorable events a reality." Sasuke looked up and found Itachi the sage standing before him, not a scratch on him. While not exactly unscathed, just missing one eye. Sasuke reflexively prepared to counterattack, but the sage spoke, "Stop. Oh, my purpose has already been achieved." "Purpose? You mean?" Sasuke covered his eyes. "Exactly. The reason I came here to fight you was to awaken that pair of eyes. When a member of the Uchiha clan loses something important to love, a special chakra will surge in their brain, acting on the optic nerves, causing changes in the eyes. This is the Mangekyo Sharingan." Itachi explained. "You did all this for that. There was no need for this at all. Even without this power, I could surpass you." Sasuke said firmly. Really? Then how do you plan to deal with that Susanoo just now? The sage retorted, I didn't fully activate that technique. That Susanoo can still evolve 2 more stages. How will you respond without the Mangekyo Sharingan? With a kunai? This left Sasuke speechless. Indeed, he couldn't win. Seeing Sasuke rendered speechless by his words, the sage pointed at Naruto and continued. If you cannot contend with Susanoo, not only will you be unable to take revenge, but you also cannot protect him. Within the Akatsuki, the ailing Itachi can only be considered second-rate. There are several who are far more powerful than I am. If they were to capture Naruto, how would you respond? Sasuke replied this. Sasuke, revenge is ultimately just a phase in your life. What you must do next is to ensure that you do not lose anything important again. To protect your most crucial companion, keep striving, otherwise you will once again become nothing. With that, the sage transformed into a crow and vanished from sight. After the sage left, Sasuke fell into deep thought. He gazed down at Naruto floating on the water, as well as his own reflection on the surface, silently making a decision. After lifting Naruto from the water, Sasuke placed him on the shore, then removed his forehead protector and placed it in the unconscious Naruto's hand, saying, Before I return to the village, this forehead protector will be entrusted to you. Having said that, Sasuke turned and left, without a hint of hesitation, as if bidding farewell to his past. I swear I will obtain the strongest power and will never let anyone take away my important things again. As Sasuke vowed in his heart, he walked into the darkness. However, no path led into the abyss. A faint glow radiated from him, making him stand out against the pitch-black surroundings. Just as Sasuke left, Zhou Ke arrived. Zhou Ke had just seen the notification about the perfect clone technique coming online and immediately rushed over. Watching the fainted Naruto and the vanishing Sasuke, Zhou Ke's face was filled with doubts. What exactly were the sage and the rebel up to? And what was the effect of that perfect clone technique? At this moment, Zhou Ke noticed the sage standing atop the statue of Senju Hashirama, then transforming into Minato and disappearing. Was this a deliberate display for him, meant to connect him to the past? Zhou Ke glanced at Naruto. He couldn't leave him here. Just then, Kakashi and Jiraiya also arrived. Now that the sage's work was done, the rebel chose to retreat. With others present, there was no need to worry, so Zhou Ke said to Jiraiya and Kakashi, Kakashi-sensei, Jiraiya-senpai, I'm leaving Naruto in your care. I have another place to go. After saying this, Zhou Ke vanished in an instant. Hey, this kid left too quickly. Jiraiya sighed. Having just gone through a fierce battle, he didn't have much stamina left to chase after Zhou Ke, and besides, he had no idea where Zhou Ke was headed. Kakashi also sighed, then looked at the unconscious Naruto, saying, in any case, let's take him back first. This encounter with Obito made Kakashi's already complicated emotions even more intricate. This is the only option we have. As for comforting his own disciple, Jiraiya didn't know what to say. In a sense, he was a survivor, having once shared a similar relationship with Orochimaru. He had only come to understand things through traveling and the passage of time. Now expecting him to simply explain it to Kakashi was impossible. Thus the two of them carried Naruto towards the direction of Konoha. This also served as proof that Naruto was indeed in peril. For his safety and to think about the future, they needed to head out for special training. Destination: Mayaboko Mountain. In the realm of the Toad Sage, without coordinates, even using space-time ninjutsu would be futile. There they should be able to evade Obito's pursuit. With this thought, Jiraiya raised his gaze towards the landmark of the Valley of the End. The colossal statues of the first Hokage and Uchiha Madara. Did the intense friendship and rivalry between the two of them continue to this generation? When will this finally come to an end? After a casual sigh, Jiraiya and Kakashi began their retreat with Naruto. Meanwhile, as the two left, two figures observed the situation from the nearby forest. Orochimaru said, Haha, what an interesting battle. It seems that Mr. Zhou Ke's clones are not just unique, are they, rebel? Well, what's the point of a playful battle with leniency? The rebel only responded to the first part, leaving the rest for Orochimaru to ponder. Orochimaru continued to ask, does the rebel mean that at this juncture a transaction? Could it be that the rebel is now free? The rebel smiled and replied, you're as sharp as ever. That guy has activated the second technique he prepared. Clones and divided souls, we are truly free now. Divided clones and souls. You've even severed the soul. In that case, are you all considered the original? This method is indeed intriguing. Orochimaru grinned slyly. The rebel retorted, don't make it sound like this method is miraculous. Haven't you done something similar before? In the cursed mark, dividing one's own soul means that even if this Boda's soul is sealed, it can be revived using the power of other cursed marks. Haha. Orochimaru chuckled without answering. The rebel continued, however, our clones are even better than yours. Even if the separated clone perishes, it can be reformed through others with no loss of memory. The only downside is that its power will diminish. It will need to be cultivated again. Hearing this, Orochimaru's eyes lit up. This was far more impressive than his cursed mark resurrection technique. He felt an urge to learn it. But why would the rebel share this with him? Orochimaru couldn't help but wonder. Want to learn? They'll teach you. The rebel turned to Orochimaru. Then what price must I pay? Orochimaru asked directly without any modesty. Well, I haven't thought of that yet. For now, let's proceed with the agreed transaction. The rebel handed the prepared scroll to Orochimaru. Orochimaru sincerely handed over a syringe containing Hashirama's cells to the rebel. Was the transaction a success? After obtaining what he desired, the rebel turned to Orochimaru and asked, "Would you like to check the contents of the scroll?" Orochimaru did not hesitate and immediately opened the scroll to see what was written inside. Orochimaru rapidly skimmed through the information, becoming engrossed in it, as various expressions appeared on his face. The rebel patiently waited for Orochimaru to finish reading the scroll. After finishing the content up to the end of the Shippuden storyline, Orochimaru revealed a meaningful expression. The rebel asked, "Do you have any questions?" "I'm in a good mood right now. Oh, I can give you answers." Orochimaru began. How does the rebel know about future events? Since you are willing to answer, I'll ask directly. We are not actually from this world. Not from a parallel universe, but from a world where civilization, history, and technological development are completely different. Or perhaps a different planet. In any case, these are all things that surpass your understanding. We know about this world's development because we once observed the history of this world, but how we observed it will be discussed later. The rebel answered. Upon hearing this, Orochimaru's eyes sparkled with excitement. More and more unknown information was indeed thrilling. However, the earlier question still lingered. Why was the rebel sharing this with him? The rebel sensed Orochimaru's thoughts. Are you interested in leaving this world to explore the outside? Oh, I see. Orochimaru understood the rebel's intention. He wanted to recruit him. Thinking of this, Orochimaru smiled and said, "Rebel, you should think carefully. The greed of a snake is not something an ordinary person can handle. I am the emperor of an empire, just a snake. It's nothing to worry about." The rebel turned to leave. As for whether you want to join, before this world story concludes, I will remain here. After everything is over, you can give me your answer. Orochimaru did not answer the question, but asked, if I were to act against Sasuke, would you care? I wouldn't mind. Only the cowardly original cares about bonds of friendship. What others do is irrelevant to me. However, with greater ambitions in mind, Sasuke may not hold as much appeal for you anymore, right? After a brief laugh, the rebel turned to leave. Indeed, Sasuke doesn't seem as delectable anymore, especially after seeing this content. Orochimaru glanced at the scroll in his hand, then immediately stuffed it into his mouth. This was treasure. He needed to study it thoroughly when he got back. Preparing for ninja tools, Zhou Ke leapt continuously and once again arrived over the ocean of the land of waves. If the sage was indeed waiting for him, it had to be here. As expected, the sage was standing here gazing at the sea. Are you cosplaying as Gildarts? Zhou Ke walked over. The sage remained silent, continuing to gaze at the sea. So, what exactly do you mean? You acted independently again, violating our agreement, and even laid a hand on my best friend. Are you not afraid that I will no longer summon you? Seeing the sage still silent, Zhou Ke continued. Of course, this might relate to that suddenly activated perfect clone technique. So what is its effect? I'm leaving, the sage suddenly exclaimed. Oh, Zhou Ke didn't expect the sage to say this and asked in confusion, leaving? Where? To that country. I am leaving this world, the sage calmly said. To prepare for the battle against that evil goddess, I must depart ahead. I've informed the one responsible for complaints about what needs to be said. If you have questions, just ask her. After saying this, a vortex suddenly appeared before the sage. What the hell? How did you do that? Wait, speak plainly. Explain everything before you leave. Are you planning to leave without a return? Zhou Ke hurriedly asked. The sage did not respond to Zhou Ke's words, but spoke to himself. Even though we are essentially one person, our experiences differ, leading to differing thoughts. Therefore, your future path is up to you to decide. If you no longer wish for revenge, then live peacefully in this world. I have researched this and found that at least until your death, that goddess poisonous hands will not touch this world. However, if you choose to resist her, then we shall meet again. After saying this, the sage jumped into the vortex and vanished. Riddler, get out of this book. Zhou Ke rolled his eyes and shouted. At this moment, a voice rang out. Master, the sage really has left. I was just complaining. You don't have to comment. What the hell? Who are you? Zhou Ke turned around and was startled to find a youthful girl with orange-haired hair criticizing him. It's me, your mind is just too slow, the girl said, while making a V sign with both hands beside her eyes. Realizing she looked slightly older than himself, Zhou Ke recalled, is that you the one responsible for complaints? What happened to you? She looked somewhat familiar. This is my true form, the complainant said, shining brightly while making a V sign. You can't just play around with the waves. The complainant took out a stack of paper and said, according to the manual, the perfect clone technique takes time to regenerate after being killed. If everyone dies within the cooldown period, then it's game over. Also, the clones can choose to completely sever their connection. If they do, then if he dies, it truly means he's dead. Even if you as the main body create another clone of him, it won't be the same him who died. By the way, the sage has already severed the connection and completely separated. That's still quite invincible. Speaking of which, since both the clone technique and transformation technique are online, is there still a substitute technique? Zhou Ke asked casually. The complainant explained, there is one, but it's not a substitute, it's the perfect instantaneous technique. Simply put, it's like the flying thunder god without the seal, or instant teleportation. If it doesn't need a seal, isn't that just divine power? Zhou Ke scoffed. Not quite the same. Our technique allows for cross-world movement. To be honest, none of these three techniques are actual ninjutsu, they are products that the sage modified from the techniques he learned. The complainant read from the manual. How much information is written in this manual? Let me see. Zhou Ke leaned in to look at the manual. No peeking, this is mine. The complainant tucked the manual away. So stingy. Zhou Ke said helplessly. By the way, do you like transforming into a female character because you're actually a girl? Yeah, the complainant nodded. Also, since my true name has been determined, it's time to give me a new title. Complainant sounds so unpleasant. Then why not just say your real name? Since you've transformed into a girl, you shouldn't be using your original name, right? Zhou Ke asked. That name has died along with my past companions, so call me Master. The complainant, no, the Master said. Alright, if you want to be called that, then so be it. Zhou Ke shrugged, saying, I never expected to be reincarnated as a woman. It's really strange. The Master said it's not uncommon. There's one life in between where I didn't reincarnate as a human. Zhou Ke was dumbfounded. Turning into a woman is one thing, but how is it that I'm not even human? The Master patted Zhou Ke's back and said, well, you'll meet him later. Alright, are all your questions settled now? No, I'm still full of doubts. One question, did you also separate? Zhou Ke asked curiously. No, I have no intention of leaving, so let's leave it at that. The Master had a sense of resignation. Clearly a very active person, but there's a sense of resignation. Is it because the impact was too great when they were still alive? Zhou Ke analyzed in his heart. At this moment, the Master thought of something and continued, by the way, not just the sage, the rebel has also severed his connection with you. Zhou Ke confidently replied, I expected that. That guy has probably been waiting for this day. Couldn't you have informed me in advance? I wasn't allowed to say, so I had no choice. The Master feigned innocence. All right. So after those two severed their connections, what will I produce when I use the perfect clone technique in the future? Will I summon two from my past lives again, or can I call upon all my past lives? I don't know, why don't you give it a try? The Master suggested. Zhou Ke immediately acted and used Shadow Clone to create 3 clones. 2 of them immediately raised their hands and said, we are normal clones. All right, it seems the last one is the abnormal one. This Zhou Ke scratched his cheek and said somewhat embarrassedly, so, is it my turn to make an entrance? Zhou Ke pointed at the newcomer and asked the Master, so, who is this? It's you. A pervert who likes elementary school girls, the Master complained. Zhou Ke's face darkened upon hearing this. Am I really this perverted in my reincarnation? The newcomer hurriedly waved his hands and said, no, I'm not interested in elementary school girls. But elementary school girls are the best. Isn't that your famous saying? The Master complained. That line was forced out of me. Besides, you're my next life. Oh, what qualifications do you have to say that to me? The newcomer said somewhat excitedly. Hearing this information, Zhou Ke deduced. I remember the Master being from the 4th life, so that means you are from the 3rd life. Exactly. The newcomer's expression became serious. I am you from the 3rd life. Nice to meet you, I am the 10th lives version of you. It's rare to meet a friendly, normal-looking person who doesn't seem problematic. Zhou Ke was a bit excited and reached out to shake hands with his 3rd life self. Looks like the divergence started from the 4th life, the Master added. By the way, his nickname is the Harem King. So you're the one with the harem. Zhou Ke withdrew his hand. Scratch that, this guy isn't normal either. The Harem King shook his head in denial. You can't say that. I genuinely like everyone, but... After saying half, the Harem King's expression turned cold. Based on previous experiences, my Noah's harem won't be wiped out, right? Zhou Ke felt a chill down his spine. It's better not to think about such things. Holding this thought, Zhou Ke said to the Harem King, it's okay, let's not think about that for now. Thank you. The Harem King smiled gently at Zhou Ke. This gentle expression made Zhou Ke's heart flutter. What am I thinking? Zhou Ke's cold sweat began to flow backward. Stay vigilant, Nintong. The Master beside him complained, as expected of the Harem King, do you even want to conquer yourself? The Harem King looked at the Master with a speechless expression. Why do you always have to criticize me? You're just as exaggerated. I've heard that on one Valentine's Day you received hundreds of chocolates, almost ate yourself to death with chocolate. The waves of the Yangtze River push the waves ahead. Isn't it normal for me to be stronger than you? The master was quite proud. All right, let's not talk about this topic for now. Zhou Ke quickly interrupted. In any case, regardless of what others do, the three of us will be a team from now on and work hard together. The harem king immediately nodded in understanding. As long as I can help myself. For everyone's sake, I will do my best. Zhou Ke thought the third life is still quite motivated, but in the fourth life it turned out like this. Eventually becoming someone who will stop at nothing. Sigh. Just feeling this way, he could sense his previous despair. At this moment the master asked, so does that mean you are determined to take revenge on that malicious goddess? Revenge. I'm not sure how that feels as I have no related memories, but one thing is certain. Even for my future, for this world, and for the people I care about, I will not stop. If that damned goddess becomes my obstacle, then I will defeat her, Zhou Ke said firmly. With the plan set, the next step is to continue working hard to become stronger according to my own plan. Of course, that goddess is a later issue. For now, I need to find a way to safely overcome this world's crisis. Thus, Zhou Ke returned to the village. Coincidentally, Jiraiya and the others also returned at the same time. Sometimes it's nice when space ninjutsu works. Everyone gathered in the Hokage's office to discuss the results of this action. Tsunade nodded in satisfaction. The Sound Ninja 5 have been eliminated and Sasuke has successfully reached Orochimaru. Furthermore, aside from Naruto being injured, there were no other casualties. Good results. Jiraiya said, however, that Uchiha Obito has appeared again, apparently to provide cover for Itachi, making it easier for Itachi to capture the Ninetails Jinchuriki. Zhou Ke replied, Itachi isn't capturing the Jinchuriki, he just wants to help his younger brother unlock the Mangekyo. And the final result, Sasuke indeed unlocked the Mangekyo. He also ensured Naruto's safety. Uchiha Itachi, truly a meticulous and terrifying man, Tsunade sighed. If he weren't one of us, and just an enemy, it'd be quite difficult to deal with. Well, actually, this has nothing to do with Itachi, it was the sage's doing. So the sage is indeed a terrifying person. Zhou Ke thought that said, why did the sage specifically help Sasuke unlock the Mangekyo? This question Zhou Ke couldn't understand, and the sage, being the person involved, had already run away, so he couldn't ask. He could only wait to deal with it later. Jiraiya said, in any case, Itachi has once again reminded us that the Akatsuki organization has started to act. Time is of the essence. Naruto can no longer stay in the village as it's not beneficial for him or the village. Tsunade nodded in agreement. Indeed, so once Naruto wakes up, you should take him to Mount Myaboku to train immediately. At this moment, Zhou Ke raised his hand and said, I need to leave too. Tsunade frowned and asked, in such a hurry. Is this related to your earlier solo pursuit? Not really. I initially wanted to see if Itachi had left any new messages. Now, I just can't sit still and want to train, Zhou Ke said awkwardly. You're quite impatient. Tsunade could understand Zhou Ke's feelings. When she was younger, if she felt her strength was lacking, she would immediately run off for special training. Jiraiya and Tsunade didn't say much about this. So, Zhou Ke prepared to set off. First he went shopping, then said goodbye to several familiar people, and finally found Xiangling. Alright, I'm leaving. You take care of my home for me. You're really in a hurry, Xiangling complained. No choice, time waits for no one here, take this. Zhou Ke handed a scroll to Xiangling. This is your salary for the next few years. I'm giving it to you in advance. I hope you won't jump ship. Zhou Ke instructed. That's great-o, I like a boss like you. Xiangling happily accepted the scroll and said, you can leave with peace of mind. They'll keep an eye on your home. And so after saying goodbye to everyone, Zhou Ke embarked on his journey. Walking along the country road, Zhou Ke looked up at the sky. The azure sky is so beautiful. I truly hope to see this blue sky forever. He malicious goddess, although I have no memories of you, I still have feelings for you in my soul. This time I absolutely will not lose. With determination, Zhou Ke set off on his new journey. Thus the perfect transformation technique. Part 1 completed.